Jesus. Woo! I can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
There we go. I can hear you. Perfect.
You can hear me now?
Yes.
All right. All right, everybody. Welcome to Sumo Day 2024. My name's Gabe Fletcher.
My name's Chris Cowden.
And we're going to be your hosts this year for this year's multi-day Sumo Day event. And we're super excited to bring this to you guys. The biggest thing for us was wanting to deliver something of real value for the AppSumo community, and along with all the businesses and entrepreneurs that we all run close circles with and community at large. So we want to thank you all for tuning in this year and joining us, and for totally dealing with the obscene levels of spam that myself and Chris have been subjecting you all to. So thank you so much for that. This multi-day event is going to be multiple guest panels. There's going to be a few solo appearances there in the midst. And there will be some links dropped in the chat here that will contain links to our schedules, to the restream links each day. And you can also find that information by going to sumoday.live. You'll be able to get that information, get all those links. So today's talk is going to be kind of spread out. And we've got all kinds of different things we're going to be talking about. I think our first session of the event is a pretty big one. We've got a lot of people in it. Huge. So I wanted to just say that I'm going to let Chris chat a bit and have him take the floor. And Chris, it's your show, brother. Why don't you tell us what this kind of means to you?
Yes. Thank you, everybody, for joining, being patient with me. AppSumo only told me about this Sumo Day live event, and I just said, you know what, I'm going to do another live event this year. And it took less than 3 weeks to put it together. So thanks for everybody who's registered, who's watching right now on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and everybody who's waiting patiently behind the scenes to jump the light in the live stream. I'm really grateful for all of you, and I hope you have a wonderful week. It's going to be jam-packed and full, fast-paced. So if it gets overwhelming, don't worry about it. There's plenty of actionable insights, and it's all going to be repurposed into a nice, easy to read, implementable stuff. So enjoy, and let's get on with it.
All right. So the first talk of the day is going to be our SEO roundtable. And we've got a ton of people that are going to be joining the session here. I'm going to be here, plus I don't know if it's 4 or 5 or 6 others. And I'm sure we're going to get some interesting insights here. So for those of you who are trying to join the restream link, you will not be able to join because the room is more than likely going to be full. So you can watch on Facebook, you can watch on LinkedIn, you can watch on YouTube. You are more than welcome to join us on your favorite social platform. You do not need to worry about joining the restream link because you very well may not get in. So with that said, we're going to kind of enable a whole bunch of people here. So we've got Felipe, and we've got Richard, we've got Rohan. Is he in here? Yes, Rohan and Stuart, and then we've got Will. Where's Will? Right there. All right, guys. So is that everybody? Did I get that right? Yeah. Okay. All right, guys. So my name's Gabe Fletcher. I'm from Edit My Podcast. Believe it or not, I have a 2-decade background in marketing, and I live, eat, and breathe SEO. That is what I do for a whole number of different businesses across the U.S. And today's chat is going to be Let me bring this up here. Is SEO and AI, how do we move ahead together? And some of you are just going to say immediately, you don't. What's up, guys? So, Felipe, we'll just kind of go around the room here and just do some quick introductions here. Just where you're from and you know who you represent. Felipe, you're muted, brother. Here, I'll unmute you. There you go.
There we go. Are you able to hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. So like you, Gabe, I've been in the industry for 20 years, all like from agency side to client side, startups, enterprises. So I'm really like pleased to be here. Definitely have been following a lot and love AppSumo. So thank you.
Okay. Awesome. I'm figuring this out here. QA. How do I switch him into the main view here? There we go. Okay. Right on. So okay, I see now. All right, let's transfer over here to Will. Will, how you doing?
What's going on, everybody? How everybody doing today?
Doing good, my friend.
Well, I am the host of Stuck in My Mind podcast. I had the honor of being on that AppSumo day last year, so I'm glad to be back, and I'm just excited to talk about the tools that we'll be using at least the tools I use to help build up my podcast.
I gotcha. Awesome. That's fantastic. And you know, not everybody is going to be an expert in SEO or AI on every talk. It's just who we can get of the most type of people, and who can share some outside insight as well. Richard, how you doing today, sir?
Hello, Gabe. Hi, everyone. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. Super excited with the Sumo Day. Well, my name is Richard Lowenthal. I am founder of Go Brunch, and super. Again, it's always amazing to talk with people like you and learn a little bit more about lifetime deals and different apps that are boosting away. Yeah.
All right. And then we got Rohan here. Rohan, good morning. How are you?
Hey, Gabe. Good morning. Doing well. Chris, Gabe, thanks for having me. And super excited to be here. I'm the founder of the Wordsmith.ai, an AI platform designed for creating content for organic growth, SEO, and social media. So looking forward to the conversation and hearing thoughts from everybody else as well. So nice to meet you all.
All right.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much. And the man with the most interesting nickname is Stuart Vickers, SEO Jesus. Save me from the AI, sir. Save me.
You can thrive with the AI, I think. Yep, Stuart Vickers, known as SEO Jesus on YouTube. Been doing my own SEO for probably about 8 or so years now in the affiliate sites, but then started an agency about 2 or 3 years ago now. And then the last 6 months got very big on YouTube. So happy to share all about that process as well.
How many subscribers do you have on YouTube?
Now it's up to about 60,000.
Wow. Are you restreaming this on YouTube today? There's a link to do that.
I tried to, but it came up saying I needed something like 24 hours approval. And
oh, okay. Well, that's annoying. All right. Well,
I can repurpose it that way later.
Yes. Yeah. I gotcha. No worries. So today we're going to kind of go back to the main scene here. Hopefully I can we
first day flops. Remember, guys, this is all about failing as well.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So, you know, recently we've all kind of seen how Google has introduced this generative AI. They've changed the way Google AdWords works. They've added more ads onto the page. You know, how do we think AI is going to affect SEO moving ahead? Anybody just thoughts? I personally think that AI is it's probably going to be another metric that we track, and we create more content now to get those generative AI outputs. That's what I think is more than likely going to happen moving ahead.
I can definitely talk about like a couple of things since I've been kind of having a lot of episodes on phraseology plus AI. It's my podcast. I've spoken to a ton of different experts, and one thing that seems pretty common is the need for us to track AI, to track the features, to track what Google is doing, and obviously other engines to be as well. If Chat GPT or OpenAI or anyone else comes in, but I feel like it's going to introduce new need for automation, different types of information gain. We're going to have to be able to use these tools effectively to practice the same thing. But I feel like SEO is going through a rebirth right now. So this is our opportunity to use these tools, learn them, and then make them better as these models evolve.
Okay.
I think from my perspective, Gabe, I agree with Philippe. I think the SEO landscape is evolving and it's sort of going through this transition period. What's interesting about AI overviews or Perplexity or some of these tools that are summarizing information is that the foundation still remains the same, which is the information has to be useful for the search intent of what the user is trying to find. So I think if we focus on the quality of content and adding value, whether the content gets shared as an AI overview or shows up in the traditional SEO rankings, I think that will largely remain the same. But I think there's opportunity to understand what type of queries will actually show up in AI overviews and which ones won't. And there might be something specific we may want to start doing to get visibility across both the AI delivered results and the traditional SEO results.
Okay.
Stuart, did you have any insights on that?
I think he's got some connection issues going on.
Yeah.
He's dropped in and out a few times. Will, I know you're primarily podcast, Will.
Yes.
What level of research and AI are you using with your podcast, if any, right now?
Oh man, I'm using a couple of tools right now that have helped me in the past year grow my podcast. Cast Magic, for one, is a magnificent tool that I got off of AppSumo, lifetime app, and it's helped me save on so much time. Like now, when I upload my MP3, AI actually writes a description for me. It gives me SEO keywords. It writes a blog. It does so many different things for me that it makes life so much easier for me as an independent podcaster that does it all. I do my marketing, everything that I do it myself. I don't have a team behind me. So being able to use tools like Cast Magic has helped me save time, which is something that's very important. We don't ever get that time back. So being able to use these tools and use them effectively, like I've actually had to learn on the fly like anyone else. And it's, like I said, it's such a great advantage for us independent podcasters because, like I said, we don't have big teams. So anything that we can use to help trim time or trim whatever workflow that we need, it's amazing.
Gotcha. So I think SEO is going to be one of these things that we see up and coming and surging again. What we've seen. So I run a digital marketing agency. Our agency does 7 figures a year in the auto detailing niche. We work with auto detail shops all across the country. My agency is Detailing Growth, and we're a full stack agency. You know, we do website SEO, pay-per-click. We do ad management. We do business systems across the board. And we work with shops all over the country. And what we've seen here is some of or most of these businesses that are that were doing the COVID pump, where they were pumping cash into the pay-per-click pipeline and just inflating everything that they can do in their business. And now what we're seeing is PPC gets so expensive that they've let their SEO slide completely because they were multiplying revenue on pay-per-click alone because they were just pumping money in because there was so much liquidity flowing through the economy here in the US that at one point it made sense to double and triple your ad spend on these platforms, and then Google comes along and says, you know what, we're going to change things, and we're gonna shove more ads into the first fold on YouTube or on Google now. Now you got a whole screen worth on your phone before you get to organic results now. And then as you scroll down the page, the ads are now being inserted dynamically in the middle of the search results now and at the bottom of the pages, right? So what we're seeing now is, because there's so many people focusing on those pay-per-click ads, that it's now become more effective for businesses to, especially like local service-based businesses, to refocus their energy on SEO and get off the pay-per-click needle, as we say, because it's like you're an addict at some point where you're just trying to fuel the business with new leads and new opportunity. Now we're seeing them focus on Google Business Profile SEO optimization. We're seeing them tie that in with on-page and off-page full technical stack SEO, and we're seeing people now come out and they're using AI tools to rapidly grow and to examine their market. One of the big ones I like is I think it was just on AppSumo is, what is it? So I know that there's Neuron Writer is a good one.
Yeah, I think Philippe uses Neuron Writer as well. Did you want to touch on that? Because I know from the guest interview you spoke heavily about that and how that's supporting you. So I'd love it if you could go into that a little bit.
Absolutely. Thanks, Chris and Gabe. Yeah, so Neuron Writer is one of those tools. I think also, so Rohan's tool is also equally impressive. I think the difference is that Neuron Writer right now has a lot of support for SERP analysis. It scores content, so it's kind of like multiple tools in one. And I think the fact that they came out so hard with like a real SEO analysis built into the tool has made it kind of like a must-have in terms of a lifetime deal from AppSumo. But there's probably 40 other tools that I kind of bundle in here between using for podcast and for SEO. I know that somebody else also kind of pulled up Squarely. I think between if you,
Right.
you have
That's
a lot
the
of
other
WordPress,
one that's good.
that's a good one.
I think that's actually on deal right now. Is Squarely relaunched on AppSumo for another LTD, and so that's a decent one if you're listening. Squarely has kind of been a gold standard, and I think is this their second time around on AppSumo?
I believe so, yeah. Has anybody else used Squarely or Neuron Writer? And for like beginners who don't know how to, set up an SEO strategy, what are some of like actionable go-to steps just for getting started? Because I know we kind of put a lot of technical stuff out there right now, but let's dumb it down for people like me that don't understand SEO.
Stu, since you've been dealing with connection issues, what do you got?
I think I'm back now. No, Neuron Writer is a perfect example where it's fundamentally a correlational tool where, vast majority understand about keywords. Now, some people in a business, they get to the point where they might have the Yoast or the rank math box and understand you can target keywords that way. And you should write 400 or 500 words and use the keyword a few times. But it's when you get to the next level that you realize you need to be reverse engineering exactly what's ranking in the top 10 in terms of the word count, the entities, the headings, all these different commonalities. Now, these tools have been around for years. I'm a big fan of Surfer. And even though I've got AppSumo lifetime deals with Market Muse, Phrase, all these very similar alternatives, I still pay monthly for Surfer. But people do come to me and say, I've got the Neuron Writer lifetime deal. Is it any different? And yeah, sure, there's plenty of differences. But fundamentally, this idea that a beginner can get access to a correlational tool like that, extract all that data from the top 10, plus it's got all the AI features as well. They're going to be a far ahead of the competition, or even where we were 4 years ago, having to try and work with Yoast or rank math and guess at using the right headings and keyword densities. So yeah, Neuron's not perfect, but as a starting point, very cheap and efficient. It's perfectly adequate, very good going.
Awesome. So kind of going away from SEO just for a moment, we have Richard on the call who's from GoBrunch, and that is active on AppSumo right now. So I'd love it if you could just give like a high level of what GoBrunch is and what it does for people, and if it can help with SEO.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, just see complimenting what you guys have been saying. We use NeuroWriter as well here in GoBrunch. Pretty much what we do, we produce a lot of different videos from our users. We have different meetups where they share what they're doing with GoBrunch and what kind of spaces they're building, and then we capture these videos. We use different extensions for getting the transcripts, and after that we load on NeuroWriter and get all the all kind of SEO analytics, right? And just to make sure that we have more effectiveness after publishing. But about GoBrunch, we have been on AppSumo for a while. It's super exciting. We love the community because pretty much our audience is the same one that AppSumo has, and we have a lot of people that are building their spaces, which is really amazing. And regarding the connection between SEO and GoBrunch, we definitely think that in the future, that's our vision. Every individual in the world, they should have a GoBrunch space, right? It's just like some people say GoBrunch is a mix of a website and a video conferencing platform, but with the ability for you to build a community. And what happened is that many people have been using GoBrunch even like as a room, a landing room instead of a landing page. And again, as much as there is no direct relation with the SEO, if you work really well in the SEO, and now I'm a little bit more optimistic, as Gabe was just mentioning before, I think it's a very, very interesting duet that you can definitely build up to boost your visibility.
Thank you so much for doing that as well. I think what I really loved about our conversation before the event was doing a guest interview with you and going into a little bit more about building communities. And I just want to give a shout out to Podcast Launch Community, the community that has come together to work with me on this event. I'd love to know if you think I should get GoBrunch and create a GoBrunch community where experts from a variety of niches that you'll see at this event come together and in little spaces. So if you want me to do that, just put GoBrunch in the comments and we'll do it. I think I've already made my mind up, but let me know anyway. Rich.
Absolutely. Well, I definitely would think you need a GoBrunch space, and I would love to see Rohan, Stewart, Felipe, and Gabe inside this space. It can be like a 24/7 just for us to share ideas, right? It will be definitely amazing. Any kind of communities that we have right now, it's inside this kind of spaces definitely boosts a lot of engagement and definitely feels like it's more real and belonging. I'll definitely do that.
I wonder if we could actually have a quick share screen of what it looks like on
unfortunately we're out of time for this session.
Okay, gotcha.
So we're coming up on the close time for this. Guys, I know this was just like, it was some super high level communication that we had, and we're just bits and pieces back and forth. And I just want to say I appreciate you guys being here and chatting with us today. So we're gonna kind of fold up here and catch on the new one now, onto the new session. Now, listen, for those of you who are still viewing here, if you go and get your hands on the agenda, you can find links directly to each of these gentlemen's social media, and you can find your way to their businesses. Now, you guys are continuing to try and join the Restream room here. Just know that you're going to get kicked if you are not a guest feature. So watch from your favorite social platform, and we would absolutely love for you to participate via your social platform. Chris, you may want to jump out and see if you can make some adjustments on the events, so that way we can only have invites and we can get people the right links. So
Just want to jump in quickly. Before we go, thank you so much for the SEO experts that joined. And yeah, thanks for taking the time. I am going to request to do all post-event interviews so we can do more demo and stuff during the week. So look out for that. And Richard, we'll get plenty of time to do a live demo with you at some point this week, hopefully. But thank you. Thank you all for being here, and onwards and upwards to the next expert panel.
Yes, thanks, guys. Listen, we appreciate you. I know, like I said, I know it was super light conversation. We appreciate you being here and hanging out with us today. Stu, I'm sorry you had connection issues, but we'd love to bring you back for an additional feature and see how you're doing it your way and how everyone else can learn from it, along with everyone else that was just with us.
That'd be great. My pleasure.
All right. Thank you very much, Stu. We appreciate you. Richard, it was nice meeting you. We'll catch up with you guys soon, okay?
Sounds good, Gabe. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Gabe. Please take care.
Thank you.
Bye. Okay,
so,
that was awesome.
Yes, it was. So right now, we're getting ready to start our next panel. Now, that's going to be content versus metric. What wins now? So right now, we're seeing again a different surge in how content is being devoured, how it's being consumed, how we're taking it is different now. After COVID, everything changed about how we consume content and how social media works, because since then we've had a massive influx of changes to all these platforms. And now we're spending more time on video, and we're spending less time on all of the more time on video and less time on static content. And now we're being served ads more than ever before. So in this session here, we have a couple of people we're going to be chatting with. We have Dorian. She's going to be joining us here. Hi, Dorian. How are you?
Hello.
We have Luca Barcella.
I'm not sure I can hear you guys.
We can hear you.
Hey, guys. Hey, everyone.
Hello.
Okay, that works.
Yeah? Okay.
We're here.
Excellent. And we've got Luca here with us. How you doing? And then we've got Mohammed from stunning.so. Thank you guys for joining us. We appreciate you guys being here. So today's conversation, what we want to get on is, what's a successful social media plan look like in 2024? Now, I don't have who's the social media content expert here. Is it you, Dorian? That's what I thought it was. I thought I remember that when I was putting the list together. And I think it was one of your questions that generated this topic. What does a successful social media strategy look like in 2024? If you're a small business or maybe a medium-sized business that's maybe doing some podcasting on the side, maybe you've got a small YouTube channel, we're utilizing all of our standard, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. What's the strategy look like for a small business that can be picked up easily?
Well, the biggest mistake that people make initially is not having a strategy at all. So they might be understanding that they're ready to hire a social media manager, or a graphic designer or a video editor, but without a strategy, you can't tell them what your goals are. So the first thing to understand is that before you hire somebody to implement social media, you need to hire somebody to create that strategy for you. I'm a social media strategist. The way I start with my clients is that I have a 90-minute intake meeting, And from that intake meeting, I take all this information about their goals, their avatar, which is, their audience. Sometimes they have multiple audiences they want to talk to, and ask them about their business goals, as well as their marketing, as well as their social media goals. And then once I have that information, I do a competitor analysis. I do a social media audit. I do hashtag research, keyword research. I ask them about their resources, their budget, like all those things together will dictate a social media strategy, because I don't have a magic 8 ball that I can look into and go, this is what you should be doing, right? Because I also need to look at what industry they're in and where they are right now. I need that snapshot, that status quo of where they are, where they want to go.
Gotcha.
Right. How much of ChatGPT do you use in that, or do you use any of it, or is it just pure your expertise?
That's a very interesting question. I'm actually working with somebody to help me create a system to use some AI tools for that. But until now, I have done all of this on my own, because there's not just looking at what's available. I think I can outsource to AI some of the data gathering, but the analysis still has to be me. So up to now, I've done that on my own, and I'll go do like part of the competitors analysis is go into a website and saying, what's on the website, but how does it make me feel? Is it branded? Does it look like, and does it sound like the company is portraying themselves on social? Those are some things that AI can't do just yet. So I'm still part of all of that myself.
That's
So,
awesome. Oh, Gabe, I just wanted to talk something there. Me and Dorian met at TubeFest 2 weeks ago. I think it might have been 2 weeks ago, and we were talking about her business as a freelancer, and also what happened during COVID. And I started my podcast during COVID, and the momentum has continued. A lot of other people did the same. What changed for you in your business during COVID? We go to Dorian, and then we go to Mohammed, because he does have a exceptional, huge social media influence, and would love to get some insight on that from him.
Yeah. So what happened for me, I've been in business for about 9 years when COVID happened. And a lot of people let go of their marketing department, and even some marketers, some freelancers like myself had put all the eggs in one basket. I met somebody who within 1 week lost 95% of their clients because they only were focused on travel and hotels, or somebody who had a certain specific industry. For me, I was able to hold on to every single one of my clients, offer them more services. I didn't reduce prices, but I offered them more services to get them up to speed
more
even
value. More
value. Exactly. And then I got hired by people who had let go of their marketing department, and they still needed marketing. So that is the year my business really took off after 9 years, where I was really able to scale. Of course, all of us were at home, so there was, for me, less distraction of having to go places. So we're able to really work more intensely, work longer hours, less distraction. And I was really able to expand my business during COVID because of that.
Yeah, I think that the whole remote work economy has really helped as well. And so let's go. Thank you so much, Dorian, for the conversations at TubeFest, and then also attending this event. It's been great. Mohammed, I'd love to come to you next and even touch on what is stunning and why are you on AppSumo's. But first, let's go to social media and your take on this conversation.
Sure. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Also, I'd like to continue on what Dorian said about the competitive analysis. I think I totally agree with that. And also, in terms of putting the marketing strategy, it is like there's some exercise that I always do, is that when I'm doing the competitive analysis, I always try to really go deeper into my competition and try to understand how they actually getting the customer acquisition, how they are getting the customers in general. Is it through SEO, blogs, or social media and things like that? And there are a lot of tools that are currently available, and they could actually be used to repurpose even your competitor content. So like if you have a competitors that you really like and you see that you're making great results, using these tools, you're with a few clicks, you're able to actually repurpose the same content as you have produced, and you're able to capture some market share. But of course, your product need to be ready at this point, because when the user comes, they have certain expectations, and when they see it, then if it's not working, it's just go away. The second point I would like to say about this also is timing. Timing is actually very, very important in this, because like let's say you're trying to promote some t-shirts for like Barcelona as a football team, and during the match, right, everybody will buy these t-shirts, right? But if after the match you're still trying to sell these t-shirts, not many people will care much. So timing is very important in this case, not only like the competition. So this is the two things I want to say about this, and also about the topic of the COVID and why I started Stunning. So Stunning actually is a second version of my previous product, which is called Zio. It was like building websites for restaurants and grocery stores. And we had extreme challenges actually in onboarding the restaurants and educating them about technology and everything. So that's why we decided to use the same method they use with us, which is words. So we decided to build Stunning. And now using Stunning, using only words, you're able to build a website for your business and then start taking orders and do much, much more.
So when you say by words, does that mean by AI input? Like you prompt it, you tell it what it wants, and then it does its best job to generate the result for you?
Yeah, exactly. And also it will generate not only the landing page, but all the pages that the AI thinks your website needs. Plus, of course, the components, we have many integrations. So also the AI will cherry pick specific integrations for your use case and then put it exactly in the website. And within seconds, you're able to go on live and online.
That's awesome. So
Yeah.
you put one sentence, one prompt. So I could say, here we go. I'm throwing this out there. If I own Stunning today and I'm Dorian, I could say, I'm Dorian and I run a social media management agency, and I want to work with, we'll just say freelancers right now. My target audience is freelancers and helping them rapidly scale their social media efforts. My website should feature these colors. My website should speak this type of language. And then it spits it out and generates the whole thing.
Yes, it's great. Actually, I like very much that you're quite advanced user, because usually the prompts that we get are very, very, very short. So people just say like, okay, I'm running marketing agency, build a website for me. That's all we get.
Restaurant, enter.
So that's all we get. But yes, you're absolutely right. And also I can tell you that the memory of Stunning right now, based on what you said, you're running a marketing agency, and the Stunning will understand that you will need also booking calendar for that. So it will put in a booking calendar for you so people can start booking. And also it will put for you a form where people can actually submit some requirements as well. So we are using a DB that has AI in it. It's called Chroma DB. And using this, we're able to remember, like the database is able to remember the success I would say examples for a specific niche, so that the user that comes next time is able actually to receive better results based on the previous history that other people created. So this is the memory kind of functionality is something that we're aiming for.
Okay, that's awesome. Listen, thank you. Oh wow, it's $49 up on AppSumo right now. I've played with Stunning, and I think that for what it's currently advertised for across all tiers, it fits great. And listen, the point of AppSumo is that AppSumo helps new SaaSes and new founders bring on a user base, so that way you can make actionable feedback and rapid change, right? So the point is that you buy something, you stick with it, and if you like how the response has been, how the roadmap looks, you keep going. And that's one of the things that I like about Stunning, is that I've used it, and everything that I've submitted has been very, very actionable, extremely actionable.
That's great to hear. I'm happy to hear that. And hopefully in the coming weeks, the product will be much more mature and much more useful.
Yes. So I'd like to just kind of touch on the content strategy, and then we're going to go to Luca here. we originally asked, how do you define a successful social media plan in 2024, right? And I think that this is extremely important, is to understand that posting is not a strategy. Just posting on social media is not a strategy. Just saying that I have to get my content out there and then just posting for the sake of posting just to say you're posting is not the strategy. The strategy is what message you're saying, who you're trying to speak to on that platform, what type of person that person is, and what action you want them to take, because the strategy is the action. And if the call to action isn't strong, your strategy isn't going to work. Now, if that's whether it be that you want them to visit a lead form, or you want them to visit a specific website, or you want them to share this or like this, it's important that when you put these together, your strategies is that you take into account which platform it is, the information that's publicly available, and if you don't know it, Perplexity will tell you the type of person that uses that platform and their typical behaviors. So you can tailor your strategy across the networks. It's not just one strategy for all social media. No, it's Facebook is this, Instagram is this, TikTok is this, YouTube is this. Don't get me wrong, that can be overwhelming for one person. That's a lot, to be fair. And that's where you leverage an AI tool to you ask for that to give you a lift, right? But if we're going to take the time to put our content out there on socials, let's make sure we actually have a real strategy. And that's one of the most important takeaways that I want to bring and offer here, because most people don't understand that there's a difference. And that's a universal truth for me during my journey running an agency and working with different types of businesses.
Yeah, and I want to chip in there. Like, what I have been doing is not really a strategy. I have been posting a lot for this event. Guilty. But it's a process. We all have different levels of expertise. We're all on our journey. So you might not be able to implement the whole strategy straight away. It's just starting small. So Mohammed, we got to go to Luca as well. But Mohammed, some best practices for approaching social media strategy. Just one or two tips, please.
Well, I think the most important is being relevant, because I have tried so many times in different times in my career, starting some social media and YouTube channel, and it didn't really work well because I was always trying to speak maybe about irrelevant topics. And but then when the AI started coming up, and I, with all my knowledge and experience and expertise, I started speaking about the AI, and actually I'm able to kind of choose things that are relevant to as many people as possible. And since I started actually creating content about this, I started receiving feedback from the people, and also what type of videos they consume. Is it like how long? Is it shorts? Is it longer videos? Which one is better, and so on. So you have to kind of measure how the people are reacting to this, and with some few tips of actually choosing a specific topics that actually could trigger the interest or become relevant to as many people as possible, then you will start to collect audience step by step. And of course, TikTok is the best platform for actually trying something like this, because TikTok exposes you by default to as many users as possible, and then you move between different tiers of different groups based on your content if it's being consumed in longer time. So I think it's all about trial and error, and also about relevancy. Like, relevancy is very important. Being relevant is very important.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So I think we want to transition to Luca here, since he's been so patient. We've all been a bunch of chatterboxes here. Luca, what I just real quick, I want to ask you, how do you define how do you measure the success of an organic social campaign? Organic, not paid. Organic.
I think, Gabe, it comes down to really pushing back against the simple answer, I guess, that most people would go to. Like, what I mean by that is, amount of followers gained. That's, the simple metric that people would jump to, or, how successful is my campaign based on a vanity metric. I think what I've been really pushing on in my own content strategy and my own content system, I like to use those words interchangeably, and I love what Mohammed and Dorian were saying. But I'd insert system into the strategy there just to make it more actionable constantly. But I've been focusing a lot more on engagement. When it comes to something like my email newsletter, it's not looking at the subscriber count, which is the vanity metric. It's about looking at, okay, what's my open rate? What is my click-through rate? And I think any organic social media campaign, whether it's a sort of a flurry of tweets that you send out for a couple of weeks, or a sort of campaign on TikTok, I would say engagement is the most thing. And it doesn't matter whether you're reaching 2 million, people, or, what are the overall impressions. It's about how many comments are you getting? How much feedback are you getting from your audience? Because at the end of the day, for me, that's what feeds back to economic value, right? If we're talking about businesses, it's a taboo thing, but we're all out here to, create successful businesses. And that means making some sort of economic return. And you cannot do that without an engaged audience. So whether it's like, for me, being in the email newsletter world, being that with that being my ultimate focus right now, that for me is open rate every single time I send a post. That is click-through rate. Nothing else really. And I love the simple approach. I could list a laundry list of metrics right there, but those are the two for me. You have to choose those, top two, and even delete it to the top one. It could be the amount of comments. And are you then in the comments replying to your YouTube post that you put up in that week-long campaign that you're running? So that's what I'd say. Maybe a bit of a long-winded one, but keeping it simple, pushing away from the vanity metrics, and really focusing on engagement, whatever that means within your own domain.
Yeah, I think I'll touch on that because what's working for me is being a lot more intentional about the relationships you're building with your community. It doesn't matter how big or small your community is, you can still make an impact by building relationships. And this is, again, the podcast launch community has just under 500 members, but the activity and engagement is high because of the relationships I build one-on-one with, or tried to build one-on-one with all the members. So that's, I don't know if that's necessarily a strategy. Maybe it is. I'm not sure, but it seems
Chris,
to be working for me.
Chris, just to double click on that, like, I think this is something I've actually been thinking about in the past few weeks. Literally in the last month, the growth of my newsletter has exploded, like exponentially. I posted a graph on my Twitter, I think at the beginning of May, and the graph went like that, of just employing some organic. It was a paid strategy. I know we're talking about organic strategy, but I was just experimenting with Beehive boosts. Shout out to Beehive, because I think their platform is incredible. Really incredible product that Tyler Denk and the guys have created there. But essentially, I think I've chased after the shiny objects in the past, and that has been a mistake of mine. Chasing after the follow count, trying to just grow into the ether as big as possible, but not really having an end goal in sight and a deeper why. We're talking about, how to define a successful social media strategy. It is reverse engineering from that why, from that ultimate end goal. And that's a mistake I've made in the past. So something I've been thinking about is, on your point about community engagement, is now stopping the growth. I'm at a good play. I'm at a really good point, and sort of dissecting my audience, looking at who's the most engaged, actually doing targeted emails out to those, the most engaged segment of my audience. Nothing, too crazy or formal that I have planned, but just sort of saying, look, welcome to the sort of the community I'm building here. I'd love to chat, get to know you better. And from there, I just think I'd want to build that relationship. And from there, the content gets better, because then you're tailoring it towards your audience. You're really, hearing what their pain points might be, or what their desires might be, out of a creator like you, and you can really double click on that and go deeper instead of just growing ginormously. But at the end of the day, it's too spread to sort of control and create some economic value out of that.
Yeah, it's the unscalable stuff that works, and then you can always have systems and strategies. And I mean, Gabe has lots of systems, and without Gabe, I would not have had this. Like, we would have had guests, but it wouldn't have been this production quality. I'll tell you that. Like, I think I secured, almost all the guests for this event, and then I was thinking, how am I going to do this on my own? I'm going to have to get some help. So the big tip is there. Hire people, or I didn't even hire Gabe. I had a pre-event guest interview with him, and he said, "Do you need any help?" So yes, please jump on board. Please help.
And I said, Chris, what project management tool are we using? He's like, Google Sheets. I'm like, oh no, oh no. So hold on. Somebody jumped into the chat here. And this was I'm sorry to take over here. This was a fantastic opportunity to like show how AI can be used here. So somebody says, Tara says, what prompt do you use in Perplexity for that? Thank you. Right. So I mentioned that I was going to, that you could use Perplexity to generate a plan. So I have Perplexity right here. Hopefully the screen is sharing. Is it? Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, awesome, dude. It doesn't take over my screen either. Restream for the win. So this is super basic. So I work in the auto detailing niche. Now, feel free to take a screenshot so you've kind of got the overall, idea. So I tell it, I have a digital marketing agency that focuses on the detailing niche in the US. I said, I need to create a social media strategy for our clients for Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, designed to increase their authority, right? So that's the end result strategy. I want to increase their trust, increase their authority for providing high-end detailing in their local market. And the goal is to tailor the plan specifically that they offer high-end auto detailing, but create a custom plan based upon the demographic that uses that platform, that are most likely to participate on those platforms. We also want to understand the age group, income range, and type of message to use on each platform, and 3 of their pain points. And this is with Pro mode, so it searches out a ton of information.
Can I make an amendment to that prompt?
Yes, you may.
I would say my client wants to be on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, but I want you to research to make sure we're not skipping another platform that they could be really great on depending on their demographics. Because if they're targeting young people that are just graduated and maybe they have a new job and they're buying a really high-end car, they are going to be on TikTok watching, and you're going to miss them if you're just only giving the prompt for those platforms. That's part of a strategy that you figure out where they need to be.
Right. And the reason I didn't was because it only typically pulls about 20 resources. Okay. 4 platforms is going to be a lot for Perplexity to get its hands on, and it will likely choke. But I fully agree that TikTok should be on here. Generally, as a whole, for anything related to cars. TikTok, 100%.
Okay.
So I would fully agree with that. And I will likely be able to ask it to follow up and generate that additionally. Because if you know AI tools, you know that sometimes it's better to break it up than to just ship it all at once. So for those of you that don't know, Perplexity is one of the few tools that do a great job of actually searching the web and finding accurate information and mining data. It's not just reading from its own memory. It's actively finding accurate data at the time of your search. And it's one of the tools out there. You pay $20 a month for it. You can take the data that you get from Perplexity and then feed it to ChatGPT to create your long form, big scale content, right? So here we go.
Is there an alternative like this on AppSumo right now?
That I don't know. I'll be completely honest with you. So here we go. So we can see here that it's got 17 more, 3, 2. So it's hit about 20 pieces of information here, right? So it's spit out for Instagram. It says age group is 18 to 24. Wow, with percentages. It gave the gender. It gave income ranges. And it says popular among professionals and early career individuals. Messaging, visual appeal, use high quality tone, or use high quality before and after photos. Engagement, utilize stories and reels to show behind the scenes content, customer testimonials. Quick tips, right? So this is, here's the pain points. Trust and credibility. Potential clients may be skeptical about the quality of service. Use testimonials and reviews to build trust. And awareness, convenience, right? And then it jumps into Facebook and it gives me the same information. And the cool part is that it tells me where it's pulling this from. So it's pulling it from this source. Now, I don't know if Roborlo is accurate or not, but that's where it found it. So we've got Backlinko. That's a domain name right there. Okay, we've got Hootsuite right here. So this is a pretty solid data source to pull from, right? And it keeps going and going and going. And so now I can ask related questions. I can ask follow-ups, right? So we're running out of time for today. So I'm gonna just save that for another time.
I think that was really great just to have like a bit of a workshop session there.
Yes.
Didn't realize we were going to do that, but no, that was really valuable. And thanks for going. I think what's great about me and Gabe is I'm asking the really simple questions, and Gabe is just
I'm a nerd. I'm a big tech
more,
nerd.
More of a nerd. And I think it's been really great to have all of you here, and we've got more people joining behind the scenes, and let's keep this show going. So thank you so much to Luca for your insights, and Mohammed and Dorian. Thank you so much. I love you all. And
cheers, Chris. Cheers, Gabe.
See you soon.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, guys. We appreciate you. All right, guys. So that means now I'm the big screen. So
1 hour in. Wow.
Yes, that's it. So next session here, we've got some more people. So first off, that was fantastic. It was super actionable. We got fantastic insights. I hope some of you were able to get some real value out of that, because truthfully, at the end of all of this, the goal here is to give you information you can take away from this. Perplexity is a very unique tool. There aren't many like it. So somebody in our private chat said, Merlin just launched, has web access. Happy to chat about it later. Okay. And that must be the founder of Merlin there that jumped in. So I don't know much about Merlin, but speaking on Perplexity, we know that Perplexity is currently considered the gold standard for AI-based research. And they've come a very long way. They just launched a page version. So you're going to be able to generate blogs that will live on Perplexity and that can be indexed. So you're going to be able to generate backlinks for yourself. Crazy.
Yeah,
so
crazy.
the next session here is why people first matters in business. So we've got 4 people on this session here, and I am in full agreement with this topic that business has transitioned away from being just about output and productivity. You have to value your team. You have to value the work that they're putting in, and you at a baseline, you need to be a good person. Like, truly, you need to not be a scumbag to your employees and your team. If a single mom says that she's got kids and she's got her kid and the kid's sick, well, yeah, she's got to stay home and take care of the kid. That's not her fault. The kid's sick. So at the end of the day, being a people first business is extremely important, because if you aren't valuing your team and you're not putting their needs first, and you're not making them your primary focus, then the only thing that you're going to do is end up just you usually end up making them feel unvalued, unappreciated, overworked, and overall, in general, that's not a super fun time. So thank you for joining us. We have Juniad, we've got Max. You've got 3 names there. I can't. Is it Max,
yeah,
Ivy?
Max, Junaid, and Osmond, and Pratius. Is
God,
it? I've messed that up. Sorry,
dude. You've clearly got better pronunciation capabilities than me.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
good.
let's go. Let's do a quick intro with everybody, and then we can go into why people first matters in business. So
Is that laptop, Max?
we go to Max first. Can you hit me, Max?
Is he asking me if that's a laptop?
Was that the guy that we got the laptop for?
Yes, exactly.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Let's just briefly talk about that. Max, tell me about the laptop situation and what happened inside the podcast launch community, and how we helped you get you back to the screen.
Yeah. So a few months back, my MacBook died, and while I still had access to a Windows computer, being a visually impaired person and having to switch operating systems is a nightmare. I was very unproductive. I was not a nice person to be around. I didn't have the money to replace it with. Our good friend Alex Sanfilippo talked me into trying crowdfunding one more time.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the big difference between a successful crowdfund and what I usually do is the community that you are part of that helps push. So podcast launch community, Podmatch community, people at Pathful, Nepris, Audio Eye, Reviewed Magazine, these different communities that I've become part of since I started working in the area of accessibility and sharing on that subject with people like Chris is what allowed us to raise enough money to purchase the laptop, pay for the taxes and the shipping and everything. So I'm now back to, I won't say 100% because I'm not sure Max is ever at 100%, but at least back in the 80s or 90s, so that I have the screen reader that I'm familiar with, the operating system, the browser, the email client, all of that stuff is familiar to me, and I don't have to take extra time to think about, well, what commands do I use to accomplish this on a box that I'm not familiar with. So yeah, y'all were a big help. I couldn't have done it without y'all. And, now I'm hopefully headed in the right direction to where people, more people are going to find out about my my skills in the area of accessibility and also creating workflow around adaptive technology, and see where things go from now. I do know this much. Our friend Alex is like, Max, now that you're finally focused on one area and not trying to do 9 different things at the same time, just look at how far you've come in the last 2.5 years. And I hate mentioning this because his wife gets mad at me when I say too many nice things about him.
Mine too.
But it's focus plus beginning to accept systems plus recognizing that I'm not only the expert but that I've been the expert, that I've been doing this for over 15 years. And it's about darn time that I realize my value and benefit from all the hard work I've put in over the years, because when I built my first website, accessibility was not really a thing, because the only way I could get online without paying somebody was to teach myself to code HTML. And that's, nowadays we have WordPress, we have other CMS systems. Some of the major website development kits are even more accessible. Somebody told me Wix even now has a built-in accessibility section of their suite for people to build their own websites. I haven't played around with it, but that's what I've heard. And so, more and more accessibility, but still a long way to go, especially in the area of online and digital tools, because a lot of people create tools, and AppSumo's a great company. I've followed along with a lot of the stuff that's come out the last couple of years. But one of the things with tools like this is quite often they aren't developed with accessibility on the back end where somebody with a disability can use them, or the designers don't really completely understand the needs of people with disabilities. So the output created by all these wonderful toys is not accessible. And I think that's one of the areas where I really feel like I can help people like AppSumo and other sauce companies, especially since we have so many people developing things to make life easier for business owners online.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. And actually, I wanted to go to a software founder that is on a call, Pratius. Sorry for pronouncing that.
I'm sorry, I went too long.
No,
That's okay, John.
no. You didn't go. You didn't go on too long. I think it's important to touch on that because I've been a big, like I've been like your agent, trying to help you get gigs with other SaaS founders, so that like you can really get hired for your accessibility consulting. So I'd love to know if Merlin is really working heavily on accessibility, so that we can help more disabled people that are visually or that are disabled to support them to use the products.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, first of all, thanks a lot for inviting me on this. AppSumo as a community has been, fabulous with us, given us such a elaborate set of feedback, which, even after having 1 million users, we at times get to miss because there are very few users who come on and give these category of feedbacks, and disability related, functionalities is something which is definitely going to be very important to us. So if you see, like, when we got started with Merlin, it was primarily mouse heavy, keyboard heavy, and there were less set of inputs around voice and so on and so forth. And just it's just probably 2 days since, not even 2 days, maybe just even 1 day since our AppSumo launches live, and we have already heard about, like, these category of feedback, so that should we include audio for audio interfaces. And while we had those kind of interfaces on our mobile app, specific to Chrome extension, we did not have one because of certain technical issues. But I think we do want to be making sure that Merlin is accessible to all categories of users. I think this is also, from a business standpoint, it makes so much sense, because if you see and compare, on almost half of the Chrome extensions, they are something, they are essentially not capable of taking voice inputs due to certain technical challenges. And even if you go on to the entire web app space, most of the web app providers are not designing it to be voice first, at the front, at the onset of when they launch. So I think even from a business standpoint, we have to recognize the business logic of why making it friendly to especially able people is going to be so useful for the companies and for all the products.
Why did you choose Chrome instead of being a web app built on React or Laravel or one of the other languages? Why Chrome extension, and does that limit your capability in terms of what you can do because you're packing it into a Chrome extension?
Gabe, I would say that it in fact expands our capability. In my opinion, Chrome is the last open marketplace right now available for any.
Mm-hmm.
Apple App Store is closed. Android is closed. Chrome is the only place where you can, build things on top of other applications. For example, using Merlin, you can scrape content out of a Zillow page or a LinkedIn page, and create your own set of tables. Let's say a lot of real estate agents, for that matter, they end up scraping Zillow listings and a lot of this other listings to create valuation models for the properties they are wanting to track. And
Mm-hmm.
then a lot of hiring managers, they end up scouting talent on LinkedIn, and they end up scraping content. Similarly, like, we have a DM response writer. So when Chris wrote to me on LinkedIn, yeah, what this DM response writer does is it scrapes through the entire thread of my conversation with Chris, and I can just write a small prompt, and create a response on top of it. It's just magical. And these kind of experiences you can't build on top of a mobile LinkedIn app or a mobile Zillow app, or even inside the browser version of Zillow on mobile, right? And we provide 26 such very deep integrations across platforms like YouTube, LinkedIn, even Google search for that matter. So as you were talking about perplexity, what we do is we in fact take the Google search results and we summarize them with citations on your Google search. Now that is very powerful because perplexity, it uses Bing API in the backend, and as we all know, Bing is the response quality of the Bing results is in general slightly poor versus Google, because Bing has lesser users than Google. So what we saw as an opportunity is that Google search results in terms of links are better than Bing. So why don't we summarize Google search results along with citations? And that is something which is only possible via Chrome extensions. Otherwise, the Google API is so expensive. If Perplexity starts to use Google API, I'm damn sure their charge point would be not $20 a month. It would be probably $100 a month. It's so expensive.
Sure. So listen, Pratya, did I say that right? Pratyush?
Yeah, it's Pratyush, but you can call me by my
Pratyush.
second name, Rai, which is far easier to
Rai?
pronounce.
Okay, that way easier. So, Rai, thank you for telling us about Merlin and hearing about John's or Max's struggle with accessibility related functions. I'd like to see if will Merlin adapt that and put that on its roadmap, accessibility functions.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We do want to do that. There are some technical limitations as an extension, but what we do plan to do is build a native Mac app or a Windows app in the long term future, maybe 9 to 12 months down the line, like how you saw the journey of Grammarly, right? Like it started as a Chrome extension, then it turned out to be a Mac app. And when you make a Mac app, you get so many advanced capabilities because the operating system in itself has a lot of sort of features which are very friendly towards people with special abilities. So what we realized is that maybe Chrome extension is a good starter for us. We can understand what the user needs via this Chrome extension based approach, and once we are ready to scale, maybe we'll transition into a Mac app, which is what we see most other large extensions like Grammarly and Loom and so on tend to do.
Ride, listen, thank you so much for chiming in today. Listen, if you reach out to me and we can get our hands on Merlin, we'd love to do a demo and get that out into the podcast community, as well as get it out on YouTube as well. We'd love to do that for you. To just transition now to Juniad and Osman. Question is, how can AI help me with the way that we approach video podcasting? Whoever's jumping in first.
Junaid, please go first. You're the video expert, in my opinion.
You are physically muted, sir.
Hey, thanks so much for the question, Gabe. Thanks, Chris, for inviting, and Usman for recommending me. The power of video, to start off, my name is Junaid, like lemonade, just so you don't have trouble pronouncing it. With AI, what's powerful is that we're able to pull out the transcript of the content that we've already created and do so much more. Like apps like Cast Magic and others have done this. Opus Clip also does a lot of that. And what that enables us to do is create so much more pieces of content from the conversation that we're already having, from our expertise that we're already sharing on our videos, on our podcasts and whatnot. And it just makes it a lot easier because not everybody is an expert. Not everybody is an expert in everything, but we all come from a place of an expertise. And those are the things that we share on our podcast. And then video enables you to hire another expert to say, hey, I've already done this interview. How can I make this better? How can I pull out information that might be seen by people that I might not have addressed directly?
I think I'm going to ask you the question that everybody wants to know, and that is, what camera, what lens, and what ISO and aperture settings are you running, sir? Because holy cow!
I told you he's pro.
It's all about lighting. When you light any set correctly, you can literally put in any camera and it looks good. And because cameras are just physical objects of bending light and putting it through. So in my space, I'm using a full frame camera with
Which one?
a Canon
Okay.
R.
Mm-hmm.
It's 2018. Can't even believe this thing's doing still well. And I've got the f1.8 35 millimeter lens on it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm, straight up into the camera, and my ISO setting is at 800.
That's about what I expected.
When you
Listen,
use
it is
camera.
also a Canon too. So
Yeah.
Canon has that super filmatic feature. Listen, I'm a big tech guy. Take a one guess at the camera that I've got.
You probably have a Sony.
No, I got it. Son of a gun. Dang. It's an A7S 3, and then I have this is an FX3 right here. So, and
But
this has a long zoom.
Yeah, you got a long zoom with a small f-stop. That's why we're not getting that.
Yeah. Well, that and my lighting in here is not dialed in. I just had it ripped apart. So you got me getting ready to open my lighting app to start changing temps and everything. Like, I'm just, God, man, I'm ashamed of myself.
It's all good. It's all good. We all are going through a journey, and thanks for the question. I love helping people do this, and being a home studio architect, I've done over a ton of different consoles, so I see the camera, I see the look, and I know what to do, what to change. But yeah, back to AI and back to the power of AppSumo, and I've been an AppSumo user for almost 10 years.
Holy cow, a decade.
It's crazy how far they've come. In fact, I was working really closely with one of the developers that was working with Noah Kagan, and when the book came out, the $1 Million Weekend, I was like mind blown. I was like, I need to get into that copy, because he's done some amazing things, and it's all a matter of just keep doing it and then keep elevating. Chris, that green book's not going to show because you're using a green screen.
Come on.
Right, that's why you need a physical screen, so you can show off my own book over here. But yeah, that's me. Osman, take it over, man.
Definitely. So the reason I wanted to have him go first is because he has impressive lighting camera. I'm just in a place where it's not my office. And for me, I really look at the perspective of using technology and mindset. And I have seen a couple apps that really help. There is an ISO advertising where you can look in the camera, or you don't look on the camera, but it makes you look like you're looking at the camera while you're reading off something.
Descript is good at that.
So there's also other apps that you can use, which analyzes the speech. Or is there a lot of stops? Are you talking too much? Like, there's actually coaching you through AI on how to improve your speech and your presentation during the video, which I think just for podcast, but also for video, this helps. And when you just zoom back and look at the person, if the person has a super setup like Junaid, the person self is going to feel very confident because everything around him is already perfect. There's not much you can say or do to bring the quality lower. Mm-hmm. And if you, like me, just have to do it ad hoc, where you're just sitting with a white screen, it takes confidence to bring up. And when you can combine the outer confidence with the inner confidence, conversation is going to flow. Connection with people is going to flow, because there's not something running in the background saying, am I speaking well? Am I pronouncing correctly? So the AI, what I really like is can help you with that. So it's not really the video aspect, but more coaching you through everything that you're doing related to podcast. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, I have a webcam camera. I'm going to talk to Junaid about getting a proper setup. But I find that the camera is great, but it's also what you wear. And if you feel confident in what you're wearing, you show up differently. Well, in my opinion, that's from my experience. I kind of want to go to Tanya, because she also has a wonderful setup, and I love the neon, lighting, and yeah, I'd love to get your take on what we've been talking about.
I was actually a little surprised I got popped up, but I'm glad because this is really a fun topic. And honestly, I think that the power of AI and video is limitless because there is absolutely an opportunity for you. If you have an expertise, which all of us have some type of expertise of some kind, right? But if you've been using video for your marketing strategy, as part of your marketing strategy, and you've been putting yourself out there on camera, you probably have been doing a lot of work. It takes time to create any type of content, but when it comes to video, it takes a lot of time. And one of the things that I've found AI to be really powerful at doing is helping to reduce the amount of time that it takes to create descriptions, that it takes to create a powerful title, that it takes to create a script. I mean, anything you can name, any of the tasks that I've done previously have now been much more efficient. I can do them much more quickly because of AI, and specifically a number of the different tools that are here or that are in AppSumo. Cast Magic was one of my favorites that I did purchase off of AppSumo, and it's completely changed the entire workflow of the way that I actually deliver video. So yeah, it's a win, I think.
It's a win. And we were talking a lot about Cast Magic in our pre-guest interview. So if you do want to go and watch the other ones, there's more coming out this week as well of Tanya. I think me and Osman did one. I can't remember if we did, but there is one. Tanya is on the stream as well. But for those that I didn't get around to doing a pre-interview with, we're going to do post-interviews as well. So there'll be plenty of chance for you to talk even more about your expertise, because that's what it's about for me, is highlighting everybody's expertise, giving everybody the platform to share. So thank you so much, Tanya, for being here and being in this space. It's been wonderful so far.
I agree.
Just want to say that lighting is top tier, my love. Top tier. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Talking of the guardian angel, the creator behind Cast Magic, we've got Blaine joining the stream right now. We were just giving you so much love. Were you there watching it on YouTube and Facebook? And could you see us talking about it?
I missed it, but excited to be here with you guys.
We're talking about video mastery and also how to use Cast Magic, and well, we're all raving about it. So could you give maybe like not an overview of Cast Magic, but why did you create it? What was the pain for you as a podcaster yourself?
Yeah, I think the pain for me, and this goes for podcasters or any sort of long form content creators, is like when you create a long form, whether it's an interview, a video, a meeting, like when you've got a lot of information, sometimes going back and capturing like what's actually happening in there and turning that into content is really difficult, right? So typically before, you'd have to, have an editor who goes in, watches the video, like transcribes it, figures out what's the meat of what I'm trying to communicate. And with AI, we're really able to accelerate that process. So in our case, it was, how do we extract the high quality information that's coming in, like great conversations that we're having with guests for our podcast, and how do we turn that into really usable content types? And then from there, the platform kind of just grew and grew. But the underlying problem is it's really tough to extract the meat of long form conversations.
So while we're all on here and we all use Cast Magic, well, I'm a fan because you get bombarded with me inside Slack. But who else here loves Cast Magic and wants to share their 2 cents on it, and how you can extract more content from Cast Magic with your content? Let's go to Tonya. You're on mute, I think.
Hello.
Yes, perfect.
Great. It is so good to be here. And I absolutely love Cast Magic. It's something that I use every single day. I've said before that Blaine doesn't give me enough minutes to last every month. I have to purchase minutes from him. But in regards to Cast Magic, for me, it's not just for podcasting or for video. It's the additional content that I can get from Cast Magic. It's from newsletters to podcasts, or not podcasts, but from blogs to ebooks, all of those various different types of content that I can pull from Cast Magic is what it does for me. And it has been my favorite tool from AppSumo thus far. We've talked about some other favorites this morning already, but since we're focusing on Cast Magic, I'll stay there. But it is a tool that I use every single day, and it is my marketing agency. I'll just say that.
It has that kind of power. That's for sure. Cast Magic is great. So I'm a sad man. I really am. So I am one of the few people that did not get a chance to take my my shot at Cast Magic, and I missed it on AppSumo launch, and I have so I haven't. I've done a trial a couple of times. I haven't had a chance to really get into it, but I do know that the time I spent with it on trial, it was fantastic, and it did a great job. I'm hoping here in the future I can personally make Cast Magic more a part of what I do, because number one, it's important to me that Cast Magic supported AppSumo and went with AppSumo for their launch and continues to be a part of that community. That's important to me because I'm all about community and all about creating creating that tie, that bond. The ties the bond, and Cast Magic is definitely one of those tools that does that. You have done such a great job of creating a tight-knit community of people that know how to take that tool and turn it into absolute powerhouse outputs. So I just want to say thank you for, of course, being here with us and support, launching on AppSumo and continuing to participate in the community. And thank you very much for being here, Blaine.
Well, yeah, and one thing I was going to say, guys, that's super exciting. Like you said, we did launch on AppSumo. It was super successful in terms of getting our first batch of customers in the door. I see Tanya over here. I think Tanya may have been our first review. And I remember when we first launched, we start getting these reviews, and Tanya was like, "Oh, I use it for this," and I was like, "Oh, I didn't even know we had built it to be able to accommodate live streams at the time." And since then, we've really expanded functionality to be able to accommodate all different sorts of content, from YouTube and live stream and all that sort of stuff. So it's just cool to see where we could start and then where we can grow to in just such a short amount of time. So obviously, want to be able to come back and kind of share the love with you guys in AppSumo, because that's where we're able to launch, and all that feedback and all the people who are using it, engaging with it, and telling us what they need. It really helped us as we really started to grow.
Yeah, you're funny you say that, because Cast Magic has been the tool that I've been using to get this event up in a speedy amount of time with Riverside and with Repurpose.io, and Repurpose.io were on AppSumo, so I guess that's a plug for them. But though Cast Magic is definitely my favorite, and I think what's going to come out of this event is when you mentioned last year, content blending. There's so much context that's coming out of this event. I can't imagine the books and all the other stuff that is going to come out of it. What do you think I should do with it for other people that are live streaming, that do have podcasts, that are creating content? What is there a ceiling to this? Yeah, I'll go with that.
I think the most exciting part about AI is that you've got context that, if you just go to ChatGPT and the AI doesn't have your context in it, it's going to write stuff that's very generic, and that's not unique to you. That doesn't really sound like you, and, you don't feel authentic publishing it. But if you can take all of that information that you've done in a really sort of curated way, and all of a sudden has your context, that information starts to be really powerful, and it helps level you up as a content creator. And one of the most exciting things about content for all sorts of professionals or solopreneurs is content is like the fastest way to level up, get leads for your business, and grow your business so people see what you're working on. So when you can combine that authenticity where you have context, you can use AI to speed up your content workflows. You can increase the output, the amount of content that you're putting out, but also it's really valuable information that you're ultimately sharing with your audience and your people who maybe weren't able to catch the interview that you're on, but that information is still relevant and important to them, and helps build up your reputation and as kind of a thought leader in whatever it is your field is. So Chris, I think for you, like with these sort of things, there's all sorts of stuff you can do. You can basically clip out sort of content that's based off a transcript. I think that is something that's like really great, being able to just like look at the transcript, find the important part, highlight, and say, okay, clip that out, right? And I've tried to play around with stuff like that. I was actually playing around with Riverside this morning, and it's like they've got a transcript and they've got other parts, but like sometimes isolating the exact thing that you want and just spitting out that clip. I think we have like a really fast way to do that. But then also being able to quickly draft high performing content is something that's really cool. So if you just want to, Chris, if you just want to click in the start with examples, one thing that I think is really strong about Cast Magic is, the fact that we've like productized all of these like high performing content pieces. So if you go down to some of those LinkedIn ones, right, you can just click on any of those prompts that are preset down there in the LinkedIn section. Yeah. And that's going to take all the information that's in the conversation that you've loaded up there, and it's going to draft, a really high performing piece of content that's modeled after posts that have done really, really well. So it just, again, speeds up that workflow. Instead of having to hire a copywriter to go review all of your information and then find the framework to write for and then draft it themselves, with one click, you can, click in. Why don't you try one of those prompts, like where it says three steps, 3 pro tips, for example, and then hit the draft button there, and scroll up a little bit. It should be drafting up top. Yeah, so it's going to be able to take all your information and draft like a really high performing piece of content based off that information, like instantly. So you don't have to come up with a prompt. You don't have to come up with a complex explanation. You don't have to explain what the context means. You just do it, and it's going to draft you really solid content.
Wow, I didn't even realize this was inside the app, and so wow, that's incredible. Now, with that, would we still be able to add content samples that we do when we create our prompts?
So what that is doing is, and just for a quick explanation for anyone who's tuning in, what a content sample is sometimes there's a piece of content that you think is really amazing. It might be something you've written in the past, or it might be from another creator that you think does a really good job in terms of the way they've formatted their content, the voice that they use in their content, their writing style. So what we make it easy to do is you just paste in a content sample, and then you're able to basically use that to generate content just like that, based off the information that you fed into Cast Magic. And Chris, the thing that you just looked at with those custom prompts, that just shortcutted the whole content sample thing. There's basically a content sample that's in the back end, so you don't even have to find the content sample. You just click one button and it's drafting it in that format. But if you want to get really fancy or custom, you can ask for any sort of content piece that you want with just a prompt, or B, if you want to model it so this tone, style, and format matches up with an existing piece of content that you've written in the past, that you've kind of templated out, or another creator's done, that you're like, I really wish I could write like that creator. You just paste in a content sample and you're like, using the information in this recording, give me a content piece like that, and it'll do it.
Yeah, that was that. Yeah, yeah, you can tell. My mind's blown. And you said content samples. You've already taken it from something that's already doing really well and created this. What else is coming to the Cast Magic platform? Because, you're the visionary.
I think the biggest thing that we're starting to see is just like is being able to solve for like workflow and scheduling and team collaboration. I think one of the strongest things that we've been able to build into the platform since we started was, we really understood that in the beginning, it was just like, how do you do one simple thing? But as we started to expand, we've had more and more complex teams start to use us. And that's kind of the evolution of a creator, right? You start solo, you might like be putting out your own stuff, and then you might start to bring in a VA or like a content editor or even a team member who you might want to like make a quick edit or look at something. So the way we really think about it, it's like, how can we build an all-in-one content workspace? So you could think about like a Notion for content or something like that, where you're bridging that gap between what is the workflow it takes to collaborate with other stakeholders, whether it's just zero and it's just you and you're, you know, working and you have the tools that you need, or there's many more. You know, unfortunately, since we launched, we've grown a lot. We've got people like, even for example, the entire HubSpot content team, they run on Cast Magic and they edit shows like My First Million and stuff like that using it. But like those team functionalities are really important for bigger content orgs to be able to get their content workflows right. So I think that's something that we're really excited to build and iterate in, because, you know, you see a lot of content creators with like, oh, I like created this crazy Notion spreadsheet or this, you know, Airtable, and, you know, here's my content system in there. So building a really flexible, purpose-built way to like merge not only the generation of content, but also like the workflow layers of it. I think it's something we're really excited about to continue to build.
Yeah, impressed. Tanya, had you seen that other feature?
Which part of it? I'm sorry.
The examples, the content examples.
Oh yeah. Look, so Blaine knows this, but Greg, who's on his team, actually showed up. He was one of my live stream guests, I don't know, several months back. And when he showed up, I did not recognize the power. So people who I've seen some chats and seen people say, hey, I refunded it or whatever. I was that person too. And then I realized, wait a minute, because Blaine reached out when I sent him my feedback and I said, look, I'm really a video person. I'm a live streamer. I really need this, 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 and this. And he reached out and said, hey, well, we're getting that. But I still didn't get it until Greg came on my show, and Greg and I started talking about use cases. And we talked about some of the things, some of the features that I had no idea were a part of Cast Magic. And trust me, when he told me, I went out and I experimented, and now I have tons of workspaces, as they call them, inside of Cast Magic to do everything from helping with my courses and webinars and repurposing those, my coaching calls. I take, for instance, if I have a series of coaching calls with people, I can take at least up to 5, Blaine, and create a page where I've combined information from those coaching calls that then gives them an action plan to follow that I can follow up on with them 90 days later. There is so much. The app that's on iPhone, the iOS app for Cast Magic, is ridiculous. Like I can pick that up and just start recording and get content at any time. I can be in my car safely, like, you know, not driving. But if I have an idea, I'll record it really quickly on my Cast Magic app. And when I get home, I can turn that into whatever type of context I want it to be, whatever format I want it to be. I've used it to create scripts just based on, hey, I know I've got this talk I need to do tomorrow and I haven't quite put my thoughts together. Speak that into the phone. It generates a draft of a script for me, an outline that I can use, and then boom, I'm ready to go. Lead magnets, you name it. Like I could go on all day because there literally are endless possibilities to using this tool with video, combined with video for me, because that's my thing, but audio as well.
Yeah, yeah. I think we are all fans and we all use it in our own way. And there's a good question here. Will you be able to create videos soon with Cast Magic?
So I think the way we're approaching video is, I don't think we'll become like a full-blown video editing platform like a Descript or something like that. I just don't know if that's our core competency, and we want to lean into like the content workflow things. But that being said, I think there are like core, like simple sort of video functionalities that we'd continue to support. Like, being able to have really high quality caption video, that sort of stuff, audiograms. We've got kind of a version 1.0 that's like currently live in the platform of those, but these are going to get really, really good really fast. So that's one of the things that's coming up, are like really incredible audiograms and captioned video and that sort of thing when you clip stuff out. So that's really important stuff for us to work on. But yeah, it's just thinking about how can we solve the 80% sort of side of things for people in a way that like works for their workflows. And then again, if you want to get super custom and like build everything with all the tools, yeah, like there's going to be platforms like After Effects and Premiere and all these that you're going to want to use for video that are quite honestly better funded and better at that sort of stuff than we are. But yeah, I think video is definitely it is part of the strategy as a content creator. And we want to provide the tools that will help accelerate those common routine workflows.
Oh, someone's just Tara, who's speaking later
Yeah,
this week.
so
She said about the script plugin. That's interesting.
we actually have one. So I don't know if anyone's heard this, but Descript actually, I think they were like threatened by us like really early on. So they sent us a cease and desist and like did some like weird stuff. So we actually have a way for you to import content from Descript, but Descript kind of got upset about it. So if you actually go in, let me see if I pull this up. I'll have to find the link, but we actually have I think a lot of the users know there's like a hidden link where you can actually import content from Descript just by pasting in the link. But they wouldn't let us say the word Descript in our app, so like we had to like hide it because their lawyers weren't too happy about that for some reason.
No, that's fine. There's a comment in here, and I think it's important to touch on. I'd like to go back a step. Castmagic launched on AppSumo. Why did you decide to launch on AppSumo, and why is there so much like loyalty to us as creators that love AppSumo?
Yeah, I think so. We didn't really have a reason other than we were like talking to some people on the AppSumo team, and then we had told, I guess Noah started using Castmagic for his show notes and like some of his podcasting stuff, and then he basically was like, "Hey guys, this is really cool. Do you want to like? I'm doing a panel on content creation at South by Southwest. Why don't I launch you guys at that panel? It's in like 2 weeks, but like, and you guys will launch your app on AppSumo." And we're like, well, what do we need to do that? And it was like a lot. So we had like this massive sprint and we launched it, and we didn't really know what it was, but that was like, and our product like was barely ready. It was like in beta when it didn't even really have a front end when Noah started using it. And then we're like, oh, okay, that sounds great. And then we launched, and all of a sudden everything started taking off, and we're like, oh, like this is really cool. This is great. And I think, just from a values perspective, we aligned with a lot of, the values of like the AppSumo community, myself, as well as our other two co-founders. Like we had all been venture-backed founders before, and I just kind of wasn't going down that path this time, and liked the idea of like building great high quality product for, for like the community who wanted to like buy into lifetime deal and support us early. And I love the idea of like someone that like supports us early. Like we're going to build a top like venture scale, like amazing product, but the people who like buy and support us early are going to get like, like get the best deal ever. So like that idea was kind of fun for us.
Yeah, I bought 3 tier 3 Castmagics, and yeah, it's to use at events like this, and I'm a deep fan. So for those startups that are looking to join, what kind of advice would you have for them? And then, as an entrepreneur yourself, and content creator, what advice would you give for somebody who's starting out, on their journey?
Yeah, I think for anyone who's starting out and thinking about launching on AppSumo, I think if you want to go the bootstrapped way, or want to go the, if you're experimenting, you're excited about building your product, you want more ownership, and you're likely not going the VC route, I'd strongly recommend it, because you've got instant distribution, you've got users, it's super valuable, you can build the product, and you can learn a lot. I think some of the hurdles to get over is like trying to evaluate what is like a lifetime deal look like? How do you structure it? Those were questions that like I literally didn't even know. So when it came to pricing, I didn't know how to price it on AppSumo, and I was kind of like, Sumo team, help me out here. What do you think works best? And you guys were really great about that. So I think really just getting the structuring the offer and figuring out if it's the right fit for you. But if it is, there's so much opportunity because you'll get great feedback from the customers. But also, like, I would think of it as like it's kind of a contract, right? Like if you're going to do it, like you want to be in there for the long haul, and like these are people who are supporting you from the beginning in a product that maybe isn't all the way there. So you just want to make sure you're also aligned and you're not like, thinking about, oh, like how do I spin something up and like bail? Like that's not the goal. I think the goal of AppSumo is like, how do you get an initial cohort of people who are going to support you from the beginning? So almost think of them as like your angel investors or something like that. And then you can continue to build and scale out the product because you've got this cohort of people who are rooting for you.
Yeah, solid advice. And for any startups out there or SaaS platforms out there that do want to get on AppSumo, there's an easy way to do that, appsumo.com/select, or you can reach out to me. I happily advise you and put you in touch with the right contacts there.
I wanted to ask a
go.
question to Blaine here before he heads
Sure.
here. So I don't think it's going to let me do split screen with all you guys here. So let me put myself in the right place. Here we go. So if Cast Magic has now been running for how long?
We have been, I guess it's just over I think we ended on AppSumo less than a year ago, like maybe about almost exactly a year ago. It was after Sumo Day for sure. So I think we ended Sumo mid-July, I want to say. So, and then we launched in March. So I'd say 15 months.
Okay. And what have you scaled the gross rev to now?
So we're at about 2 mil. We're coming up on 2 million ARR right now.
Okay. That's fantastic. If you had to give a new founder that's, let's say they're pushing out, on Product Hunt, or they're pushing out on AppSumo, if you had to give them just a SaaS founder one piece of advice to make sure that whatever they're doing it has some type of action or plan, so that they don't fall into the dev hole of where it's just constantly chasing bugs and chasing feedback, what's that one piece of advice you would give them to make sure that doesn't happen?
Well, I think that's an interesting question, but I think sometimes it's tricky. I think the easy answer to that is like solve a problem that people actually care about. But I think the best way to validate it is if people are actually willing to pay for it, right? So that's why I think AppSumo is such a great proxy, because you can launch a product in the early stages, and you can not only gauge if there's like demand for the product, but are people willing to pay for the product? So AppSumo may even be better than Product Hunt in a lot of ways, because Product Hunt is a lot of people being like, oh yeah, that's really cool. Congrats. Like great job. That's a really great idea of a product. And I think so many products, especially in today's day and age, if you launch a product on Twitter, it might go super viral and everyone's like, oh my God, it's cool. It does this one little thing. That's really neat. But like, that doesn't necessarily mean people are willing to pay for it, and that there's an actual underlying problem there to be solved. Whereas when you launch on AppSumo, like there's customers on the other end who are only going to pay and buy your deal if it's a problem, and like they're voting with their dollars instead of just voting with a nice upvote on Product Hunt. So yeah, I think that's the best way to gauge if there's interest around a product, because sometimes, there's interest around the product. Sometimes people are like, yeah, I really need that. But at the end of the day, the best way to test it is if people are willing to pay for it.
Now, so you would say that picking the platform in where you're going to launch is extremely important, right? And then also making sure that you're paying attention to you're actually paying attention to how those people are purchasing it, because you said that they're only going to purchase it if it solves a problem for them. So I think that's really actionable advice. That's actually fantastic, and one thing about me is that since I've become a part of the AppSumo community, I have a huge affinity for SaaS. And I am always looking for founders that are trying to create a community and create that user feedback first experience. And I typically sort them out and I find them very, really nicely. And what you've said here relating to picking your platform and like monitoring how that's going is one of the things that a lot of founders miss. Is they just think that Product Hunt is the launch and then like whatever comes from that is the end goal, when the truth is that I think that the user that you're going to attract from that platform is not really the one that is going to be the one that you want for life, because that's the kind of culture that AppSumo creates. Is it creates those users that are a part of a community, because that's what they're about.
We didn't even launch on Product Hunt. Like, I don't know if that was a stupid thing, but like we didn't.
Kind of my point.
But yeah, I think the alignment piece is crazy. And also it's great to see, one of the craziest things to see in our data is how well the people who purchase us on AppSumo have retained. Like it's literally, I want to say around almost like 50% retention of the people who bought it, which is like, to me, that's absolutely like mind blowing. Like, wow, that these people are like still active. Yeah. There were I want to say we sold to roughly, I could totally be botching these numbers, but in my head, it's like, I think we sold around 5,000 deals, and there's like over 2,000 Sumos that are like still very active on either a daily or weekly cadence in Cast Magic, which is kind of nuts. Yeah.
Talk about loyalty there. Well, listen, guys, we're coming up on the end of our session here. Blaine, you were awesome. Thank you so much for spending time with us, and you've been amazing. Blaine, I think, did you have a deal or something for the community?
I do. So I have something special. So we're, obviously we're not quite getting back on AppSumo just yet. Maybe one day, maybe when we launch the new stuff, maybe Black Friday or something. We'll see. The team's always talking to us, so we'll see what we do. But I do have a really special deal, which is a code that you can use. It's called CM50YR. So CM50YR. And that code will get you 50% off any plan for a year. And you can stack that on top of the annual plan, which is actually pretty crazy. So our annual plan's 40% off. So if you use it, it basically works out to being able to get Cast Magic for like $10 a month.
I'm going to castmagic.io right now.
Yeah. So
what was the code again? Just to really spell it out, please.
CM50YR.
YR.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Well, that's super generous of you for you to do that again. That's absolutely amazing. Thank you. Seriously, that
one's a good one. So we normally don't do that. So this one's going to be we're going to keep this limited to just through the end of today. So it'll be a June 10th code for anyone who's tuning in. So if you want to use it, get it while it's good, because then it's going away.
Now it's CMYR. Was that it?
CM50YR.
Is that correct? Like that? Or is it can you see it on the screen? CM50YR. We'll get the correct code to you, and we'll get that sent out for you. And Greg and maybe Raymond, the other co-founder, will be possibly joining on Friday, so you can have more questions, you can get more support, and maybe just dive into the actual platform and some hacks on how to use it to really streamline the workflows. But thanks to Tonya and Blaine and Gabe and me for putting this event on and getting some exclusive deals. You'll be getting some additional deals throughout the week, and I hope you're getting the most out of it. Please take the opportunity to get your questions asked so we can answer them. That's what it's for.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Sweet. Thanks, guys. Great seeing you all.
Yes, thank you so much. We appreciate you. Thank you for hanging out with us. So that's going to pull this session here towards the end here. What do we got next? We've got scaling in a niche. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, guys. I'm going to let you carry this.
Okay.
While these guys are joining. Are they here? Do we have wait?
Yes,
yes.
they are.
All right.
They
So
are.
you can admit I'm going to go give Cast Magic my money right now. Right
Yes,
now.
use
If
my
you're listening
link.
and you're not using this code right now, you are messing up. CM50YR. Get on it now, or you are making a huge mistake.
Awesome. Thank you, Gabe. And go and get that deal. And I'll turn you off for now. Okay, so I'm not going to have any of the time alone, but let's just get straight into it. We're inviting Nathan Resnick and Aaron Alpeta from E-commerce on Tap podcast. We've been working closely together, and also like maybe I don't know, was it 2 years ago, Aaron, we had a chat about your podcast?
Yeah.
And now it's live, and yeah. Well, thanks for being on the stream with me. Let me see if I can get us looking a little bit better. What about that? That's better. I'll put Aaron here. Please introduce yourselves to anybody that is watching that doesn't know you, and talk a little bit about the e-commerce on Tap podcast.
You want to go first, Nathan?
Sure, happy to. I'm Nathan Resnick. I am the founder of Sourcify, and about, almost 2 years ago, we partnered with ISBA to continue our growth, and Sourcify is the go-to e-commerce manufacturing platform. Together, Aaron and I run the e-commerce on Tap podcast, where we do deep dives on high-growth e-commerce brands. So you can think, Love Every, or Liquid Death, like I'm drinking right now. Just some pretty incredible e-commerce stories that we cover, and it's been super fun. So we really appreciate you having us on here, Chris.
No, this is my calling, to give everybody the chance to get the recognition they deserve for the expertise they have, and on a platform like AppSumo, it's a perfect chance to do it. So, Aaron, over to you.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that most podcasts are sponsored by something. Our podcast sponsors Liquid Death. So the amount that Nathan goes through, that was a fun episode. But yeah, I'm Aaron Alpeter. I'm the founder of ISBA. Basically, what we do is we help brands start, scale, and exit their businesses. So think of it as end-to-end supply chain consulting. Been lucky enough to work with a lot of really interesting companies of all different shapes and sizes. So yeah, just had a lot of fun doing the e-commerce on Tap with Nathan this year.
So tell me a little bit about what you discuss on the podcast. What was the point of creating it? Nathan.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I started e-commerce on Tap actually about 5, almost 6 years ago. So Sourcify was started in 2017. And, e-commerce on Tap became a growth channel for us, right? We would interview different brands, mostly more startup oriented, and do deep dives on how they've grown, so you can think like Feet Hoodies and Socks, or Sunday Scaries, just different niche e-commerce brands that are primarily fueled through Shopify. And, then when Aaron and I started working together, and as Sourcify kind of has grown its clientele to be more focused on like e-commerce brands doing, $10 to $100 million a year in revenue, we decided to take a different approach on e-commerce on Tap, where Aaron and I actually do a deep dive on these brands. And it's been super fascinating because I think we've uncovered so many different tidbits that have really enabled these brands to scale. I mean, the majority of the companies we're covering are now doing, 100+ million a year in revenue. And just to pick apart their growth story, their founder story, their supply chain has been super fun.
Yeah, I find that is one of the most valuable pieces of starting a podcast is you get to talk to different people, or as experts yourself, dissect it and say, this is what they did, this is what these did, and this is how they scaled. And I'm using terminology that I'm not very familiar with, but yeah. So what would you say, what are the key considerations when picking a winning product category?
Like if you're starting a business?
Yes.
Oh man, I think it's got to be like what's defensible, right? So you've got to go into something that, if you're going to raise money, you've got to be able to think that you can invest that money and grow something that's going to have an exit potential that makes it worthwhile for those investors. If you want to keep it as a small business, don't raise any money, right, and just kind of cash flow that way. And so I think a lot of it is starting with the end in mind, and then picking a product category that that you're passionate about its potential. I can be really passionate about cheddar Chex Mix, which is my kind of go-to snack. I probably can't build a business around eating cheddar Chex Mix, but like if I'm passionate about snacking or other stuff like that, then maybe I do a derivative of that.
Yeah, I guess this is where like my loyalty to AppSumo is they invested in me as a creator, so I'm invested in them. Does that play a part in your decision? Is brands you love are brands you invest in or work with?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, for the most part, I think it's kind of twofold, right? When it comes to Sourcify and I think ISBA as well, we mostly work with companies that have supply chain challenges. So Sourcify, we source products in China, Vietnam, India, Pakistan, and really all across Asia. A lot of times, especially during COVID, people weren't able to travel to Asia. And so because we had existing boots on the ground there, we became a vital resource for these companies to really, make sure the products they were producing were meeting their quality standards. In today's world, companies work with us primarily for, kind of two main reasons. Number one, to optimize their costs, or number two, to optimize their quality and meet their lead time expectation. When we think about a supply chain, we typically think about cost, lead time, and quality. Those are kind of the three variables that we pull on. And so I think, when it comes to brands that we work with, it really just depends on the problem set that they're facing from the supply chain side of the business. And I think in general, supply chain isn't talked about too much because it's not, quote unquote sexy, if you will. But, Aaron and I really enjoy it. And it's fascinating when you dive into a company's supply chain to see, where they're getting their packaging, where they're getting their zippers, where they're getting their, fabrics. It's really a unique and very neat process that we get to dive into.
Yeah, you're nerds in supply chain, just like I guess I'm a nerd in community and podcasting. You just dive straight into it. So how do you make e-commerce on tap sexy for people that are listening out there? How do you like engage your audience, and what are you doing to support them on their e-commerce and supply chain journey?
Yeah, I think that we're still learning a lot. Most of when Nathan and I were talking about this, a lot of this was just based off the conversations that we were having and things that we thought were interesting. And so our format is a little bit different, where we aren't having the companies on. We are trying to take kind of an objective view, and maybe we'll change that down the road. But we're going through and we're reverse engineering their supply chain, reverse engineering, how they have gone to market and what their X potential is. And so, we were talking about liquid death, and just, kind of as we were going through this, I had the take that, I think that if they do exit, they're not going to exit to a water company. They're going to exit to an alcohol company because it helps them get a new type of consumer. And so we just have all these different insights that we're able to play off one another as we're doing research and things like that. And so, we also call people out. So we did a deep dive on Viore as one of our earlier episodes, and same with like True Classic. And we thought that they were doing so many things right on the marketing side, but they were falling short when it came to the customer experience and either the time that it took to get something delivered when we placed a test order, or in the case of Viore, like the returns experience was terrible. I took a picture and put it online where I took a fruit roll-up box and put my pants inside there and put a label on the outside and ship that out. And that was because they didn't have the right mechanics to handle those sorts of returns. And they're doing $400 million in revenue or something like that. So it's like you got to figure these things out. So I think that there's a lot there where I'm hoping that the people who listen and are enjoying two nerds nerding out can take insights and apply that to their own businesses for what they can do better at a different scale.
Yeah, do you have thank you for answering all these questions and going into really a lot of detail about how you're engaging and creating your podcast. What kind of research goes into it? What would you say are some of the biggest pain points you have right now? Because every podcaster has a different journey.
Yeah. Nathan, you want to go first?
Yeah, I mean, I would say the biggest challenge at times is finding those kind of hidden nuggets, right? I think if you Google a brand, you see what most people would see online and, the stories about them. And I think what we try to do in e-commerce on tap is kind of find those hidden nuggets, whether it be in their supply chain or some growth story that many haven't heard before. So our research process, I mean, it covers an array of sources, everything from, founder interviews of them being on other podcasts to, your typical news outlets, as well as test orders. We get a lot of fun products in the mail because we get to, place test orders with these companies that we're doing deep dives on. And it's interesting to see also, we've got a whole process to look up where their factories are based on our boots on the ground in Asia, as well as, HS tariff codes. So it's pretty neat. I mean, there's a lot you can unlock. Aaron, am I missing anything?
No, I mean, we do a lot. I think some of the things one of the things that I've recognized as we've gone through this process is that marketing is what the companies want you to talk about and want you to feel about. Procurement and supply chain is what is actually newsworthy. And so a lot of times we'll go in and we'll find something where there are inconsistencies with what a company wants to be known as or wants to be reported as. And then we're able to kind of find those from an operation perspective. But then at the same time, there are these amazing stories that come out that we weren't expecting. I mean, I kind of come back to the Merit Beauty episode that we did, Nathan, where we were going through and just realized that the founder was running 3 different multi-million-dollar companies at the same time.
Oh.
And it's like, well, hold on, time out. Like, let's talk about what she's doing and how she's doing it and what her track record is. And you just find some interesting things there that kind of take you into a spot there.
I would also add, it's impressive to see, companies that reach scale that are able to keep their metrics pretty hidden. Like one that really comes to mind is Athletic Greens. I would think most people are familiar with Athletic Greens at this point. And what's crazy is that, their revenue numbers are not public like whatsoever. People estimate there is no real dialed in estimation of how much revenue that company is doing. And it's very rare to be at that scale and not have any leaks. So, kudos to their team to keeping that under wraps.
How do you go about accessing data like that, and what value does it have for you when in for Sourcify and ISBA, but also for your podcast?
So I would say that we're very intentional about looking for public sources of data because we work with a lot of really well-known large companies that are, have either been acquired or in the process of being acquired. We have access to a lot of information that isn't public. And so we're intentionally saying, okay, we're not going to look at that. We're not even going to, gut check stuff. We're only sticking to what's in the public record. And, from a podcasting point of view, it makes for a better story if we've got a revenue number we can tie to. But in reality, when it comes to the consulting business or the sourcing business, we would get all that directly first party when we're working on a project anyway. So I wouldn't say it has a huge impact on that end.
Yeah, I like your approach a lot, and it was great to talk to your team as well. What I have some questions. So for somebody that's because this event is kind of about AppSumo and helping people launch, grow, market, and scale their business, and we're talking about e-commerce here. If somebody's starting their journey, what first steps would you say that they focus on or start doing to get started? For instance, finding the first product and going back to the winning product category.
Yeah, I mean, I would think actually even before starting with a product, kind of a bit of what Aaron was mentioning before is tying into a community, right? And typically a community is reflected on your passion. And I've seen this play out so much with, community leading to incredible e-commerce companies. Like one that comes to mind is Epic Gardening, right? This guy, Kevin, started a gardening blog, grew that gardening blog to a few million followers, and then started building gardening products around his community and audience. And so I think, even before I would think about what product you want to launch and build, I would first think about, what communities are you in? What are you passionate about? And then think about, what product can I build for that community? And then when it comes to actually, finding a supplier to, produce that first product, I mean, that I could talk about for hours, but really to break it down in a quick, short summary, it's, I think about vetting out suppliers. Typically you're going to start with like 5 or 10 different suppliers that you're vetting. Maybe you're going to produce 3 different samples, and then you're going to test those samples, see which ones you like best, and then, place a small test purchase order and go from there, right? So it's an iterative process, and you always find something new about a supplier overseas that you didn't know before.
Yeah, I guess the one problem that I have in my head, because I don't have that experience, is collecting inventory. Like a lot of people collect AppSumo deals, never use them. Buying products, testing them is fine, but then not being able to sell or having the sales skills to sell a product. What goes into your mind once you've tested the products and then you're looking to ship them and get them out there? Aaron.
Oh, well, I think a lot of this is, you should test into something. You should have a thesis. You should figure out, okay, I think that people are willing to pay this. I think I'm going to sell this amount. And so if you are just trying to decide if you should invest in inventory or not, I'm a big fan of being out of stock, right? Not perpetually, but you can set up a Shopify page. You can run some Facebook ads. You can test something and just say, oh shoot, we're out of stock. Join our news, join this list, and then we'll let you know when we're back in stock. And there's a lot of brands that have launched like that. Harry's did that. We did that at Hubble, the Farmer's Dog. I mean, there's quite a few companies that's been the playbook. And so, if prove out your thesis, and then once you're there, just make sure you've got the repeatable processes to do things. And Nathan's being modest. The easiest way is just use Sourceify, and that'll just work.
Yeah, that's what we're on here for, but also just to talk about your podcast journey. And we got the special code there. Cast Magic have given 50% off all annual plans with the code CM50YR, and that's only available until the rest of the day. I can remember about a month ago when we did have a call, you did say that you also use Cast Magic in your workflow. I'd love to know how you're using it, why you're using it, and what you like or love about Cast Magic.
Yeah, I would say I like their user interface. I mean, the AI summaries are fantastic. They kind of are able to pick apart an episode and showcase the highlights, which is pretty cool. It just makes it a good way to, repurpose podcast content, right? Because prior to Cast Magic, we were kind of manually just writing up these posts for social media. And now with Cast Magic, I would say it's, relatively an automated process where we, get an episode out, put it in Cast Magic, and then have those tidbits ready to go for social media. And so it's definitely been an unlock in terms of our process.
Yeah, I think did you get the chance to listen to Blaine before this? Yeah, you were in the
a
studio,
little bit.
weren't you?
I actually know Blaine pretty well. He's a friend of mine, and it's incredible to see how they've grown Cast Magic, and really a fan of Blaine and the Cast Magic product.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. So regarding, because this is an AppSumo event, have you checked out what's on at Sumo Day right now? And if so, which tools are catching your eye? Or if you haven't, what are some of your other favorite tools that people that are starting out in e-commerce and supply chain should pay attention to? Aaron or Nathan?
Specifically from a podcasting point of view, or from a supply chain point of view?
Could you do both? Please.
Yeah, I think we're definitely still learning on the podcasting front, and so I think our tech stack is obviously Cast Magic. Riverside. We've looked at what's the other one? The text to speech one. I'm drawing a blank. I don't do the editing.
I think there's the script.
The script. That's what it was. Yeah. That's kind of been the tech stack that we started with, and then we're just going to iterate and swap stuff out as it makes sense.
Yeah. So what to take e-commerce on tap to the next level? What's the vision, or what's the end goal for the podcast?
Yeah, I mean, I would say our listener base is relatively niche, right? If you're not into e-commerce, you're not into one of the companies we're covering, then it's probably not super relevant. But we're making strides within the e-commerce community. We've got a very active Facebook group. We're both active on social media, primarily on Twitter and LinkedIn. And it's been cool to see the engagement grow, right? I mean, I've been podcasting now for over 6 years. And I think it comes in ebbs and flows, right? There's some episodes we release where it's a very, unique kind of hyped up story that gets a lot of traction and a lot of engagement. And there's others that it's, a company that hasn't been as media worthy that, we've thought just personally was interesting that we wanted to cover. So, I think it just depends in some sense when it comes to podcasting on your target audience and your community. And, I think from my perspective, there's different types of podcasts. There's obviously some podcasts that are like Huberman or Joe Rogan that are going to get a widespread audience. And, I don't think Aaron and I are that, right? We're talking specifically about e-commerce companies. And for the most part, the people that listen to, these wider spread podcasts are not going to really be listening into an e-commerce specific podcast.
Yeah, and you touched on something important there, and that it is a very small niche, and you are focusing on a specific area. And I'd like, I know Gabe jumped off briefly, but Gabe and I are working really closely together, and I'd like to introduce you to each other.
How you guys doing today?
Fantastic.
All right. So you guys have your own podcast and for your business here. Now, are you seeing traction in your podcast, or you feel like it's slower than you want? Do you have an idea, like, where are you at right now in that journey?
Yeah, I would say it's growing, right? I mean, I've been podcasting for 6 years. I've had episodes that have gotten over 10,000 listens and some that have gotten a lot less, right? So I think it goes in ebbs and flows. I think, Aaron and I have been doing this specific format of e-commerce on tap just for about 15 or so episodes. So, in my opinion, I don't think you can call yourself a real podcaster until you do 100 episodes or more. And so, Aaron and I are working our way up there. And I think by the end of the year, we're going to have an even stronger audience than where we're at right now.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, look, I think you guys are last roll of the day here. You guys, listen, we appreciate you guys coming on so much. I just want to double check here. You know what? This is a really important one here, and I think that we should definitely answer this question. What would you say that has been some of the most productive strategies when it comes to scaling revenue vertically for e-commerce businesses? What's been some of the most productive strategies that you've seen used across various niche e-coms? What's that? What do you think that the strategies that has been the most successful is?
Yeah, I would go, a couple episodes come to mind, but the True Classic episode was probably a good one where we went and deep dove into what they had done and how they did it. The TLDR is that you need to know your costs, right? And it's not just like rough numbers of here's what I pay in COGS and here's what I pay in shipping and those sorts of things. But if you really truly understand all of the different 0.5% or other costs that come off of a sale, then suddenly you know what the upper limit is for what you can spend in order to grow profitably. And that's been the kind of infinite money glitch that they've come up with is True Classic has found a way to say, all right, we know that we've got $20, $25 worth of CAC that we can afford to spend into, maybe a lot more in their case. But they set a hard rule and say, look, we're going to break even on the first purchase that someone makes. And we are going to assume that all of our profit and contribution margin is going to come on the repeat purchases. And so because they understand and track their costs so quickly or so tightly, they know exactly what they're able to spend. Of course, they've got pressure to make those dollars go further and to keep CAC low, but they have said that they're not going to spend $80 to acquire a customer that has a 25% contribution margin, because that's just not a good way to build a business. And so I think that having a really hard edge where you're saying this is the maximum that we can spend, and then that triggers all this other work to say, cool, how do I improve that? And that drives you to be more efficient. It drives you to be more.
Where do I find the additional margin inside of my systems?
Exactly. You push yourself to really justify all the spend that you're doing, and as a result, you have a much tighter business.
What do you think about people who, there's a lot of smaller, I call them, now you've got things like TikTok Shop that are going absolutely crazy. And you've got kids who are trying to put together Shopify stores and just picking random products, that trying to see which one works and which one doesn't. Like, if I'm somebody who wants to build an e-commerce brand, but I'm not sure about what product category or vertical I want to choose, how should I go about trying to find the right category?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there necessarily is a right category. I think it depends on I would say the right audience, right? How are you going to make your video engaging? How are you going to, continue to scale your content engine, right? I think fewer brands today are solely reliant on Meta and Facebook or Instagram ads, right? Whereas today, more and more brands are reliant on influencers, on creators, on organic content, like you're talking about through TikTok Shops. And so I think really, if I think about what's the right product, I think, well, what's the right audience, and what am I personally interested in that I think is going to have a lasting impact that can be more than just a single product if I want to create and build a real brand here.
If I run into you, this is the last question right here. I recognize who you are in the subway, and I got 30 seconds for you to give me 3 pieces of advice on grow my e-com and make the right choices. You got 30 seconds. What 3 pieces of advice are you going to give me?
I would say partner with a big creator, test the product, have them do a live or post about it on their story, and see how the engagement is before you do anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you find that product that relates to their audience, loves and wants to engage with, then go find a supplier through Sourcify, manufacture that product, and launch your brand. I really am bullish on this creator economy. I think there's been so many huge success stories, whether it be Prime Hydration with Logan Paul or Kylie Cosmetics. There's just been some incredible stories, and I think this space is just getting bigger and bigger. So if I were going to start an e-commerce brand today, I would partner with a creator.
Okay. I think that's actionable. And I think the creator thing is right on point, because that immediately cuts out all of the hard work that you're going to have to put in terms of, number one, getting the right people to even be willing to test your thing that you're trying to push. And that's like ideation of that and getting the data for that. Like, you're talking, depending on if you're having to jump verticals and pick product categories multiple times, you're 90 days a piece every time you do that. 90 days to launch ads, see what converts, adjust landing pages, and then adjust spend, and then direct, build campaigns. That's 90 days a pop, and you could do that. You could do that repeatedly and spend that capital over and over and over and over. I think that pick the big creator or the influencer is the hack for anybody who's is looking to scale up on e-com. That's for sure. I come with a marketing background, and I've done e-commerce businesses, or I've helped build them out online, like in terms of the infrastructure. I've done a little bit of that over my 2 decades, and I've seen everything in between of things that work and things that have failed. And I'll tell you, the creator hack is definitely the best piece of advice that I wish I could have given all of them. That's for sure. So look, guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us today. We appreciate you guys coming on and hanging out with us on Sumo Day, day 1. So hopefully you guys are having a good time. Is there anything you have to pass along to the community here before we part?
Just thank you both for having us, and hope to hear from anyone that's interested in e-commerce. Aaron and I are both active on Twitter and LinkedIn, and check out Sourcify and ISBA. And thank you again for having us on. This was fantastic.
Absolutely.
Thank you. There will be many more opportunities, and I'd love to do a solo podcast interview with Aaron and Nathan, or do it together. And yeah, thank you, Aaron, for reaching out a few weeks ago and reconnecting. It's been fabulous. And yeah, thank you to all the speakers that have joined for day one. Day two is on Wednesday. We're missing a day for family reasons, but yeah. So I just wanted to touch on that. Yeah, no, thank you so much for being here and supporting me with this event.
Thanks for hanging out with us, guys. You guys have a good day. Okay.
You too. Talk to you soon.
All right, guys. All right, Chris. Let's wrap up the afternoon here. So, what did you think of day one, man?
Oh my goodness. I'm so glad that we put in the effort to run this event despite the odds and despite all the adversity that came up within the last month. And it was a fabulous event. I mean, we need to have a debrief after this to fine-tune some things, but it was really I enjoyed it so much, and it was a pleasure to do it with you for the first time. And Wednesday's going to be a blast, and Thursday, then 2 on Friday. Oh, I can't wait. I'd love to hear what your biggest highlights were to those that are listening or watching from YouTube, Facebook, or LinkedIn, or inside the podcast launch community as well. I'd love to get your insights. Tell me what you've learned. Ask your questions. We'll be dropping a tally form in the emails we send out. Please submit your questions there and we can get them answered for you.
Beginner question. Okay, somebody's asking for the code again. It's for Cast Magic. Although where on Cast Magic, you would need to go all the way to the checkout, all the way to the Stripe checkout page, and then you can enter it. So,
Gabe, I'll just mention, I've created a video of you showing you how to redeem it. So I'll make that visible on the YouTube channel in plain sight for you.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, I think that today my takeaway was the Merlin app and seeing and hearing that Merlin is willing to put disability related functions and features on their roadmap, and hearing that that's important because John, or I keep calling him John, he looks like a John, Max is a person that definitely needs disability enabled applications, and it is something that is so sorely overlooked in the SaaS community and the founder community as they create these visions and try and serve their niche. It's a bigger problem than a lot of people realize. So hearing that, and then hearing about the different things that Merlin did and why they chose the Chrome extension as a package versus a native application like React or some other code base. I think that beyond that, getting a chance to talk about Cast Magic and seeing how it grew and why it was successful and why they chose and seeing why they chose AppSumo to launch, and hearing how they kept a tight loop on feedback and were really drilling down on how they were taking feedback and how they were growing and how they were making those changes. Growing into what it is today, I don't know if there's a more capable application than Cast Magic is for anything related to transcription and content manipulation. And repurposing. I don't know if there's anything better than Cast Magic that does it at the level that it does or output that it has. Because let me tell you, I've played with all of them. and none of them come close to what Cast Magic has been able to do. So whatever secret sauce he's got in those generatives in the back end of that, it's absolutely killer.
And you haven't even tried the iOS app yet, but
No,
that little
I
bit
haven't.
where he spoke about examples, well, I mean, that's genius. And I mean, we're going to work on like the strategy behind content after this event, or even tomorrow maybe, and go deep in Cast Magic together. And
Yes.
I can't wait to do just a workshop with a one-on-one. Now, the good question that's just come up. We have opened up some spaces for the podcast launch boot camp. We're only going to limit it to 20 people, but you're going to get access to some of the best podcast producers and podcast experts that you see that are industry leaders, and they're going to be coming and supporting you. So it's only limited to 20 people. You go to podcastlaunchstrategy.com/bootcamp. There isn't a special deal because the access itself is a life-changing opportunity. So go and check that out, and you'll probably be hearing from Cast Magic inside there as well. Resound, there's other production companies, and you'll just be getting exposed to so much goodness. So go check that out. Any final words, Gabe, from you?
I think that there's a few. Number one is that the AppSumo community runs deep, and they clearly showed up here, that's for sure. And I had a great time chatting with a lot of them and hearing what they had to say, and how they're using the different tools that they're getting their hands on. And just that, I just want to take a moment and thank AppSumo for putting on Sumo Day and allowing us to run this event alongside of them. This has truly been a really rewarding experience. And we've met great people. We've got a chance to meet founders that have launched on AppSumo and they've had great success there. And it's truly been a privilege to be here for AppSumo and Sumo Day. So I'm super excited for what the rest of the week brings, of course. So if you're a SaaS founder, make sure that you get your hands on $1 Million Weekend first, and you can get that on AppSumo. It's a fantastic read. But if you are a SaaS founder that's considering where you should launch your app and where you should make first steps, AppSumo should be the one if your goal is to build more than just a money-generating machine. AppSumo is where you want to be if you want to generate community and tight feedback to make actionable change and reach your MVP faster. If you want to do that and you want a real community that's willing to carry you along and also be a part of it, AppSumo is where you want to be. You don't want to be anywhere else, because AppSumo is where people vote on if your idea solves a problem for them. So
with cash, not an upvote.
Right, and it's with cash and not an upvote, because cash you can directly invest back into your SaaS to put money into development, into developing a support system, into upgrading infrastructure, so you're not hitting your limits so frequently. So pick the way that's going to generate you revenue on the front, and it's never about what the quote-unquote lifetime deal is, and it's more about how you're going to leverage that opportunity. And that's what AppSumo is all about. It's about giving people that don't have VC backing an opportunity to grow inside of their space. And that's what we're built on here. And that's what podcast launch community or podcast launch strategy is also built. So make sure that you jump on AppSumo and you check that out. We have 2 fantastic courses on AppSumo. They're both extremely affordable. We have podcast launch strategy, which is going to take you from nothing to launch in 7 days. Is that right, Chris?
Yeah. You
Roughly?
could do 7 or 30 days, but it's really actionable insights. You can have a look at all the reviews. You'll be able to see exactly. And you can get all the support from all the people you've heard from today inside the podcast launch community.
That's right. And then we also have podcast launch community has also put together Mastering the Podcast Game. That is on AppSumo as well. Chris, what are there, like 25 different speakers on that or more? I'm not sure exactly how many.
Yeah, so it was about 24, I think. So we did a live event like this last year with industry leaders like Podbean, Sounds Profitable, Pod News, you've heard of them, Cast Magic, Capshow, Resonate Recordings, Resound, lots of people. And they've produced fantastic podcasts, and they are also inside the podcast launch community and will be joining this event. So there's too many reasons, and I'm not going to convince you. Just go have a look. You're going to get 10% off on AppSumo.
And if you're a Plus user, that means you're stacking at 20% off in the checkout process. So that's another great option. So listen, if you're stuck in your podcast and you're stuck on so many different things and you're not sure what to do, get your hands on mastering the podcasting game. That is one of the most important and actionable purchases that you'll ever make, because it's got all the fluff cut out of it. All of the like opinions and things that don't work or are subjective, all of that's been cut out, and it's nothing but actionable, real steps to success for all of the components related to your podcast. So make sure you check that out. So everybody, thanks so much for joining us today for the day one of AppSumo's Sumo Day. We appreciate you hanging out with us. We appreciate you being here today. Make sure that you're back with us on Wednesday. Chris and I are going to be here again, and we're going to be running another awesome, packed day of fantastic people that are going to be willing to teach and come to the plate and give real information. I'm going to be sharing some of those connections with those people. So thank you so much for hanging out today, and we will see you on Wednesday. Thank you so much. You guys have a great evening. We're going to roll some outro videos that are really cool. We want you to check those out, and then we will see you on Wednesday. Thank you all so much. We appreciate you being here.